Lima Charlie.
Hello everyone and welcome to the next segment of Existential Phobias, here to give you yet another reason to contemplate your very existence. Today's mind trip will feature the older and more terrifying brother of the phobia we featured in the last video, which was Christoffer. May I introduce Astrophobia, or the morbid fear of stars, space objects, and anything with direct relation to the cosmic beyond. Like Christoffer, this phobia can sometimes trigger a wide variety of intense feelings of discomfort, nausea, and anxiety. Now yeah, the fear of spiders and fears of clowns are sure scary and all, but this one, it takes the whole making you feel small and vulnerable to an unimaginable magnitude. Something about pictures like this really show the reality that we don't see above our eyes. That blue sky is a filter. Once you remove that filter, staring back at you is the never-ending void of deep space, which is a playground to dozens of chaotic interstellar forces and objects that would make your head spin. Only 553 people out of 7 billion as of today have gotten to pierce this false veil of blue and see the boundary between home and infinity. Out of these 553 people, only 24 have wandered beyond these constraints and touched foot on our nearest celestial partner, the moon. And by nearest, I mean nearly 30 Earths side by side in distance. 24 people, 6 separate missions, one of them stands out. It stands out as a true example of just how vulnerable we are out there. You ever wonder where the quote, "Houston, we have a problem" came from? Well, first off, the translation was adapted into the famous "Houston, we have a problem," but you'd actually be surprised to know it was originally "Houston, we've had a problem." And the problem there definitely was. During the era of space exploration, on April 11th, 1970, Apollo 13 was set to become the 5th Apollo mission to the moon, and the 3rd in line of successful landings on the lunar surface. The astronauts on board were Commander James A. Lovell Jr., Command Module Pilot John L. Swigert Jr., and Lunar Module Pilot Fred W. Hayes Jr. Now by this point, we have grown some pretty big balls. However, with the limited technology that was available to humanity during that era, space was just itching to humble us on just how helpless we can become if even one decimal or configuration is done wrongly. Which, if you didn't know, goes like this.
Dragons away!
And you can hear some really loud cheering in the room. Okay, you just saw a bright flash there, it looks like.
Yeah, literally a decimal can be off and you are Kaioken times 20 fuck. Just like the previous missions, the launch went as expected, good old countdown, incredible takeoff, and lots of prayers. Nearly 56 hours and 200,000 miles later, while everything seemed to be going according to plan, the crew was met with a malfunction in the service module, which led to an explosion that ruptured the second oxygen tank in the service module.
13, we've got one more item for you when you get a chance. We'd like you to stir up your cryo tanks. In addition, I have a shaft and trunnion.
Okay.
Or look at the Comet Bennett if you need it.
Okay. Stand by. Okay, Houston, we've had a problem here.
This is Houston. Say again, please.
Houston, we've had a problem.
With no idea of the extent of the damage done to the ship, the crew was forced to conduct a maneuver to loop around the moon and return safely back to Earth. But since space is really fucking big, this will take them nearly 4 days, mind you, with a damaged ship, and the only thing separating these men from this was somewhat give or take between 1.8 to 6.9 centimeters of metal and resin. That was what kept these men from becoming the soda can that you would stomp on, yell Kobe, shoot, and miss the trash can. Seriously, you really have to think about this one. These astronauts had no idea of the extent of damage done to their only chance of survival, and for nearly 4 days, they drifted in space wondering if they were gonna make it back home. That thought alone really fucks with my brain. I gotta also wonder how the ship even managed to take off with the weight of the astronauts' titanium balls. However, There is a happy ending in this story because after those 4 days, they finally reached Earth and made it safely back home in one piece. When I said space was a playground, I really wasn't kidding. Our fragile blue planet exists within the most volatile and chaotic playground we can imagine. But just how large is that playground to begin with? Disturbingly large. In space, size is quite funny, but not funny, more like funny. Remember when I said it took the astronauts 4 days to complete their journey from the moon back to Earth? Well, that was simply just the distance between the Earth and the moon. Once we zoom out though, the measurements might disturb you a little bit. Now let's take this scale up a little further with our solar system. That has a diameter from end to end of 79 AUs, which is around the orbit of Pluto. But if you zoom out even further to the Oort cloud, which is a cloud of dust, ice, and gas that surrounds our solar system, you will be met with a distance of over 100,000 AUs. But now that we've started racking up the AUs, I think it's about time that we transition to the big boy unit of measurement, light years, which are the distance that light can travel at in a single year, which is about 6 trillion miles, or 64,516 times the distance between the Earth and the Sun. This would take the soon-to-be world's fastest Parker Solar Probe going at its top speed of 428,746 miles per hour over 1,597 years just to cover a single light year. A single unit of these insane measurements would take us nearly 16 entire centuries to cross, even at those ridiculous speeds. But why stop there? Here's my not so accurate take on the cosmic beyond in a not so accurate analogy. So far, we have barely started exploring the closet in a single room out of a single house in a neighborhood out of many others, which form into a series of districts, which are then part of a city, which is part of a state, and so on and so on. Let's just keep zooming out. Let's scale this about the size of our Milky Way galaxy. Now, just how big is that? Well, just go outside at night and look up at the sky. What if I told you we are only looking at less than 1% of the stars in our galaxy? Yeah, this right here, it is what every single person that has ever lived saw over their night sky. Still not satisfied yet, huh? Alright, let's take a look at the local group of over 30 galaxies, including ours, which spans over 10 million light years across. By this point, if any aliens took a telescope and pointed it back at Earth, they would see our very first ancestors, as the light images would show what our planet was like 10 million years ago. Let's keep zooming out to our local supercluster, which is over 100 million light years across. Any aliens from this far away looking back would witness the dinosaurs. God, they just keep going, don't they? Yeah, we have the Laniakea supercluster, which spans a horrifying 250 million light years, and it is still made into a complete joke when it joins like a Lego piece in what is likely the largest cosmic structure that we currently know about, the Hercules Corona Borealis Great Wall, which spans a massive 10 billion light years across. I want you to remember that light is the fastest thing in our universe, which stays at a constant speed of 670,616,629 miles per hour. Oh, that was a breathful. That means that even in light speed, a speed that could travel around our planet nearly 8 times in a single second would still take 2 times the age of the Earth and then some to cross. Now I'm gonna drop the finisher move. We can still keep zooming out. And finally, we arrive at the extent of what we can currently see, as the light from any distances further has not had enough time in the universe's entire existence to reach us. We reach a distance of 93 billion light years, which makes up what we call the observable universe. It makes up every single object we have ever discovered, and it is incomprehensibly large, that my brain just kind of implodes at the thought of even trying to normalize these insane scales. You just can't visualize them because there's such large distances that we will likely never in billions of years ever get to explore even a percentage of that space. If you take a second and analyze that our galaxy alone houses billions to trillions of planets, many of which are in stable orbits around the star, and then you multiply that exponentially with the size of the universe, which is estimated to house nearly 200 billion individual galaxies, then another question needs to be asked.
Are we alone?
rare move, the Pentagon has confirmed a leaked video does in fact show a real unidentified flying object.
I do not have an explanation for what this specific object is.
They reportedly hovered just 700 feet above the stern of the Navy destroyer.
Videos recorded by U.S. Navy personnel have added a new layer of evidence to the current national debate about UFOs.
Capturing images about their experiences with what they claim are UFOs.
At least this one instance, our government took the time to say, look, this is real footage, and we're not exactly sure what it is.
Because when the New York Times is reporting about it and saying that this is major news and this is real and there's video evidence that they can't ignore.
Now things have changed. Now we have multiple sightings by multiple modes. That is the gold standard for looking at these objects. Not just one person, but several.
Now this shouldn't even be a debate, as with the odds of life even in its simplest of forms existing on another planet within our galaxy are extremely high. And with that many out there, it is really ignorant to think that we are alone or even unique in our cosmic playground. We share this playground, but just like a real playground, we don't know what kind of kids will just show up. We could always hope to get the nice kid that shares his toys as our first interaction with another intelligent race and build something of a tie between civilizations, but what if we also get the bully? What terrifies most people about sci-fi horror revolving around aliens is just how defenseless we appear in contrast to an overwhelming force that quite literally stomps on us in every single aspect. It would be easy to assume that we could serve a fighting chance with our pew-pew weapons and our fireworks, but if a civilization has already mastered the ability to travel to other worlds and interstellar space, long before we have even gotten a man past our moon, what's to say they aren't already equipped with a more effective deck? What could take all of collective humanity centuries could take a civilization far more advanced than ours little over a day. This blows the comparison of us being the Indians and the aliens being the colonists out of the water. I think a more accurate comparison could be what a microbe is to the smartest person on Earth. I think that this prospect is the most terrifying thing about space, as it is extremely likely that a civilization with sentient life like us humans exists that has probably existed for thousands to millions of years longer than we have. Civilizations that can gather energy from stars like we fuel our cars could, within a timescale of a few million years to even a few 100,000, could consume entire galaxies worth of stars. On a scale known as the Kardashev scale, this would make them a Type 3, which, if you didn't know, we are a measly 0.7 on that scale. 1 signifies that an entire planet's energy is under our control. 2 signifies that we have dominated over our system and our parent star. As I mentioned earlier, a theoretical megastructure known as a Dyson sphere would most likely be the only way we could harness all of that energy. And 3 signifies our complete takeover of our home galaxy, planets, stars, and all. There is a theory that really gives me the chills. There is a region in space known as the Boötes Void, a void that is over 330 million light years across. It is the largest supervoid that we know of, and it contains a mere 60 galaxies in a region where there should be over 2,000. What can be seen looking from afar is this haunting image. The theory is that that darkness is actually the result of a Type 3 civilization that has consumed groups of galaxies worth of stars over millions to billions of years. What's even more mind-numbing is that some asshole decided that 3 wasn't enough given how exponential a civilization at those heights can continue to grow at, and proceeded to add 4 more levels. However, these are complete mindfucks and would mean that even a stage 4 civilization would mean that our entire universe is already within a civilization's control, which includes our planet Earth. We would basically be ants on display to a civilization this advanced. 5, 6, and 7 are basically God tier 1, 2, and 3, so I don't really think I need to go into too much depth about those. While this extended list may be just sci-fi pipe dreams, even just a 1 to 2 level civilization would still have a massive superiority over humanity. Whether these aliens would share that IQ or use it against us, we may never know. Until then, we continue to look up at the stars and wonder. But here's another question. What if we really are alone? Alright, it's basically demon hours right now, and yeah, this is where I'm at in the video. Currently editing this, and I'm currently like reading these words, and I started really thinking, and my head just said, what the f? Now, yes, this is me playing devil's advocate, but frankly, the idea that we may truly be alone in what seems to be an infinite void of black messes with my mind a lot more. I mean, if the odds are so high, why haven't we found life out there? Or why hasn't it found us? Well, this could be because of a variety of reasons. However, I think both of these questions make space equally as terrifying, as we haven't had a concrete answer to both of them. Now let's go back to Earth for a minute. It's nice, right? We have lush forests, blue skies, and beautiful views to go around. What can go wrong? Frankly, most planets out there in space should make you feel real comfortable that you live here on Earth, because literally 99% of what's out there could end a human quicker than I can finish this sentence. Take for example our neighbors. On Mercury, you can expect a near vacuum with 800-degree lead melting temperatures. On Venus, you can expect a literal giant pressure cooker and, oh yeah, sulfuric acid rain. On Mars, well, actually that's not so...
-81 to -220 degree temperatures and high radiation.
Oh yeah, Elon, you might need to research this one a little bit more. As for the outer gas giants, I think these are actually the worst, and here's why. Imagine for a second that you managed to build yourself a suit that is strong enough to survive the extreme conditions on Jupiter. Well, if you drop down on Jupiter, you would first fall through thousands of miles of atmosphere and witness sights that would overwhelm your tiny little human brain. Oh, but this is just the start, because you're gonna have to get used to falling, as the planet is mostly made of gas, besides its core, which is around the size of the Earth. That is if you even make it to the core, as the pressure from all that gas even at the surface would quickly exceed the pressures found at the bottom of the Marianas Trench, which is over 1,000 Earth atmospheres. Say you could teleport instantly to the core, you would experience over 100 million atmospheres of pressure. This also discounts the incredible temperatures you also feel on your way down. Its -238 degree surface would freeze you, but then as the pressure builds, you would find yourself experiencing temperatures that can only be found inside of our sun. As for Pluto, well, it's just a really fucking cold version of Mercury, so there's not much to tell about that. What's even crazier is that these conditions our neighbors host are just child's play compared to some of the other planets we found outside of our solar system. Take for instance planet Korat 7b, where it literally rains molten rock as it exceeds temperatures of 3,600 degrees Fahrenheit. Or on planet HD 189733b, where it rains silicate glass sideways at wind speeds of 5,400 miles per hour. Or frankly, my favorite pick, which is planet Gliese 1214b, which is an ocean planet over 4 times the size of the Earth. What makes this planet exceptionally exotic and alien to me is that it has oceans hundreds to thousands of miles deep. One can only imagine what sights one would see in an ocean that unimaginably deep. The conditions on this planet are strange to say the least, as when you enter a water world, you may think of our Earth's oceans just everywhere. But you'd be very, very wrong, as its planet reaches temperatures of 460 degrees Fahrenheit and its water only stays liquid on the surface because of the extreme pressures the planet also has, which don't allow for evaporation. At its depths, the pressures cause the water to do stuff that water doesn't really do. Water down in these extreme depths of hundreds of thousands of miles form into what scientists call Ice 7, which is an exotic state of ice formed through extreme pressure. To call any of these planets inhospitable would be the understatement of the century. We should feel a bit more comfortable that even if we are floating in a void of nothing surrounded by planets, stars, and other fun space phenomena, our biggest worry is in choosing to wear a sweater or a t-shirt on a hot or cold day. I remember back when I was a child, I had a very innate fascination with space and everything related to it. I remember back in 4th grade, I made a science project, and it was a voluntary science project. Yes, you heard me right. Voluntary. About space and stars and how big they were. We weren't even learning about them, but I did it anyways because I thought it was really interesting and I wanted to share stuff with people. The stares I got from that are honestly hilarious. I don't think the students or the teacher knew what the fuck I was talking about, but I didn't care. It was fucking cool to me, man, so they should honestly be thanking me for the quick astrology lesson that I gave them. Looking back, I could see why astrophobia is a real thing, because I can see where people get the whole existential crisis when they look at this. This shit just trips me out, and it makes me think that I am small as fuck in this infinite void of nothing. But at the same time, my curiosity is also very spiked because there is so much out there that I'll never know everything. And I think that is why it is so terrifying to people. People like to know everything, and people like to conform with the idea that they are comfortable on this little blue planet, but in reality we have so much more out there. If in the future we do wish to venture out into the stars, we should know and we should become comfortable with the idea that we will never know everything, which should both terrify and drive us to go and discover these things. When you really stop to think about it, our petty differences mean absolutely nothing when you actually start to zoom out and see the bigger picture. If you're having a bad day, just remember this. We are very, very small in a universe that can give less than a shit about any of our problems. So do as the universe does and turn your problems into humanity. So send that text, take that job, and make that decision that will change your life. Alright man, you're being a little too deep. Just end the fucking video already. Thank you all for joining me for today's video. It's been a pleasure, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care and take it easy.